Hello, my name is Ryan Gifford. My wife is Carrie Gifford. She's a fitness trainer at URC. She teaches Pilates and Move to Music, as well as some other stuff. With the recent social distancing that's been put in place for the COVID-19 virus, many of you have been taking classes from her through streaming video using the Zoom app, which sounds like it's been working out great. Obviously, it's a little bit more tricky to see some of that stuff on a small screen, so it was brought up that it'd be nice to be able to put the videos onto a larger screen, like your television in your house. So there's a couple different ways to do that, and that's what this video is going to address. There's basically two different ways to go about this. The first is to do it by plugging wires in, and the second is to do it wirelessly. The wired version requires some equipment that you might have. The wireless version requires some equipment that you might have. So it's really just up to you to determine what works best for you. First off, you need to determine what kind of a smart device you're using. So your phone or your tablet is either an Apple device most likely or an Android device. It's pretty easy to tell the difference between the two if you're not immediately familiar with them. And really what that comes down to is there's an Apple icon on the back or not. Additionally, you can look at the plug that you charge the phone with. If it looks like this, it's most definitely an Apple device. If it looks like almost anything else, it's probably an Android device. There are a couple other smart devices out there, but Apple and Android cover the vast majority of what's available commercially. So, in order to take what's showing up on the screen of your phone or your tablet and to put it up on, say, your television screen, there's two ways we can do it. The first is to use wires, and the second, as I said, is to do it wirelessly. Let's talk first about the wired version. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to plug an adapter into your phone or your tablet, and then plug an HDMI cable into that adapter and then into your television. Most every television that's been made in the past probably 10 to 12 years has multiple HDMI ports. They look like this. Those HDMI ports are usually labeled HDMI 1, HDMI 2, 3, 4. And if you use the input button on your remote control, you'll be able to move through the HDMI inputs on the screen of your television to know which one you're getting the signal pushed through. Now the trick is you have to know which HDMI port on the side of your TV you're plugged into with your HDMI cable in order to know which HDMI port you should be selecting as the input. If you're using a DVD player or a Blu-ray player, you probably already have an HDMI cable plugged into your television and it's plugged directly into your HDMI, it's plugged directly into your CD or Blu-ray player. If you have that, there's no reason to buy another HDMI cable unless you really want to. You can just unplug it from the back of your Blu-ray or your DVD player and plug it into the adapter for your phone or your tablet. And that should be all you have to do. Select the input that you would normally use for your CD or Blu-ray player, and you should be able to see whatever's on your phone or your tablet at that time. If you don't have one of those, or if you want to set up a completely separate system, you can buy an HDMI cable. Usually 6 foot or 10 foot will work. 10 foot might be a little bit easier if you want to move the phone around a ways in front of your television. But you'll also need an adapter. So the adapters come in two basic different flavors, one for Apple products that has a lightning adapter on the end of it that plugs into the phone just like your power plug, and one for Android devices, which can be a myriad of different plug styles. It can be USB-C, it can be micro USB, mini USB. There's a bunch of different options. So the challenge with an Android phone is first you have to figure out which plug you use to plug into your phone, and then you have to buy the right adapter for whatever that is, say USB-C to HDMI. You need that adapter. I've linked a couple of adapters to this video, just some screenshots of them so that you can potentially purchase them through Amazon and have them delivered. I will say this, if you're buying an adapter for an Apple product, my recommendation is that you buy an Apple original product. You'll know it's an Apple original product because on the description it should say Apple as the vendor. Usually it's in blue if you're on Amazon. The other thing is it'll be twice as expensive as everything else that's out there. And I know that's kind of a pain, but to be very honest with you, Apple's protocols are very, very tight, and everybody tries to copy them, and a lot of the copied hardware that gets made, like these little adapters, they just don't work. Or they might work intermittently, or they might work once in a while, they might work for a while, and then they might stop. So my recommendation when you're buying Apple stuff, like an adapter, is to buy a true Apple adapter. If you'd like, you can also look for adapters that say Apple MiFi compatible. Usually it's in parentheses near the beginning of the description. Technically, if it says that, and if it's true, it's the internet, you can't trust everything you see. If it's Apple MiFi compatible, it should work with your phone. And usually those products are on the cheaper end because they're not Apple OEM products. But just to make things easy, my suggestion is that you buy an Apple original Lightning to HDMI adapter. It's about $40 if you buy it online. The other nice thing about that specific adapter is that there's also a little plug on the side of it for you to plug your power charging cable into, which means that your phone can charge while you are taking a class and while the information from that class, the video from that class, is being projected up on your TV. That keeps your phone from running out of juice if it's a little bit low while you're in the middle of your class. Not necessary, but it is a benefit to have that available. So once you get the adapters and you have an HDMI cable, whether it's one you already have or whether it's one that you purchased, you want to make sure that it's plugged. The HDMI cable is plugged into your television in the HDMI port, and that you know which HDMI port that is so that you can select it with your remote control. In this example, it's HDMI port 4 on our television, and that's, you can see right here, is the port that we tune it to using the remote control. And that way it's pulling the signal in from that port. Next, you want to plug that HDMI, the other end of the HDMI cable, into that HDMI adapter, and then plug it into your phone. If everything works right, everything that you see on your phone should then show up on your screen. If you turn the phone sideways, it should change the orientation of what you're seeing on the screen as well. From there, it's just a matter of logging into whatever you want to log into, whether it be a streaming class that Carrie or one of the other fitness trainers is teaching, and log in like normal on your phone, and when you plug it in, you should be able to see a bigger picture up on the television. Keep in mind the picture won't be super high resolution because all of this information that's being pushed online for these classes is compressed. It's not designed to be shown on a big old television, but it'll certainly give you a better view from across the room to be able to have some room and kind of spread out and still be able to see the big picture. I don't have a lot of experience with the Android adapters. I have used them a couple of times and they work the same the times that I've used them. You just plug the HDMI cable into your television, make sure that you select the correct HDMI port using your remote control, and then plug the other end of the HDMI cable into the adapter and the adapter into your phone. Like I said, the biggest thing with Android is making sure that the plug is compatible with your phone, because Android uses a bunch of different plug configurations. So you need to know that up front first before you make a purchase and before you try to make it work. So that pretty much covers the wired version of how to stream the content from your phone onto your television. But there are wireless options as well. They're probably a little bit more complicated and a little bit more expensive, but they are available, and you might have some of the equipment already, which would save you from buying anything else. If you're using an Apple product, the device that you would need is called an Apple TV. It's a little square box that usually sits underneath your television and is connected to your TV by, you guessed it, an HDMI cable. There are multiple ways to stream from an Android device wirelessly, either using Chromecast or an Amazon Fire TV stick or something like that. You'll just need to Google it to figure out specifically how to use those devices. Because it's a little bit more complicated, it's probably better that you find an online tutorial rather than try to step through all the individual steps to make it work. But the biggest thing if you want to do something wirelessly is to understand that an Apple device, an Apple iPhone or iPad requires Apple TV to make it work, whereas an Android device can use a Chromecast dongle or Amazon Fire Stick. So again, if you already have an Apple TV or you have an Amazon Fire Stick or Amazon Fire TV and you have the right wireless device to go with that, then it might be easy enough for you just to screen share or screen mirror across to your television that way. It's beyond the scope of the video to really talk about how to do that, but it's pretty easy if you just Google, how do I stream from my iPad to my Apple TV? And you'll find really good instructions on it. Many new smart TVs also have an option called AirPlay. AirPlay is Apple's wireless version of how to stream media directly to a television that's equipped with AirPlay, and it works very similar to using an Apple TV. If your television input, as you scroll through it, you see one that says AirPlay, you may be able to very easily just select what you're watching currently and cast it up onto the television. Again, that's an easy thing to Google. If you look up Apple AirPlay and your television type, it should tell you right away whether or not you can do it. Hopefully this helps you out and it makes things a little bit easier for you to use within your home while you're working out and staying active and staying moving and mobile. If you have any questions, you can funnel them to Carrie, and hopefully either somebody at URC can help you, or she can maybe pass them on to me and I can see if I can help you out. I know the folks at URC are working really, really hard to bring you guys content that's meaningful and that's something that you want and that will keep you entertained and active. And this is just another step to hopefully make that useful to you as well. Have a great day and keep on moving.